Hey everyone, I know you're here because you're thinking about buying the iconic Celestron NexStar 6SE telescope. It promises epic deep space views, simple computerized tracking, and is one of the most recommended telescopes for beginners. That's what I'm here to tell you about. But here's what surprised me. I've owned one for years, and I'm telling you, you probably shouldn't buy it. Therefore, before you click that Amazon order button, you need to see this. For the best price, if you're still convinced, click the link in the description. /N. So why on earth would I tell you not to buy one of the most popular scopes out there? It's because of three massive, deal-breaking problems that nobody talks about in the shiny reviews. They're the kind of issues that turn an exciting hobby into a frustrating garage ornament. This isn't about the optics. They're fantastic. It's about everything else. You're about to get the brutally honest truth. But first, let's be clear about what you think you're getting. /N. The Celestron NexStar 6SE is a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. It has a 6-inch mirror, which is a great size for seeing planets and brighter deep sky objects. It comes on a single-arm computerized mount, the famous SE mount, with a hand controller that claims to have 40,000 plus celestial objects in its database. It sounds like a dream machine, right? You set it up, it points at stuff, you see galaxies. That's the promise. Therefore, if that's all you heard, you'd be hitting buy now. But the gap between that promise and the reality is a canyon filled with AA batteries and alignment frustration. /N. Let's dive into problem number 1. The power problem. This telescope runs on count them, 6 AA batteries. That's right, in an age of USB-C and lithium-ion packs, Celestron sends you to the Duracell aisle. And it's not just for the hand controller. The entire mount, which has to move a heavy telescope, is powered by these puny batteries. You get maybe 1 or 2 nights of use before they're drained. The mount starts moving slower, the tracking gets janky, and suddenly your Saturn view is wobbling like it's in an earthquake. It's a joke, a bad one. Speaking of jokes, what did the astronomer say to the NexStar 6SE? You've got a lot of GUTS asking for more batteries. It's not funny when it's happening to you. Therefore, your very first mandatory extra purchase isn't an eyepiece. It's a massive external power tank or a power adapter. That's an extra $50, $100 they don't mention in the brochure. /N. This leads us directly to problem number 2. The mount of doom. The single-arm SE mount looks cool and portable, but it's wobbly. There's a noticeable shake whenever you touch the focuser or a gentle breeze blows. You wait several seconds for it to settle. For visual observing, it's annoying. For any kind of photography, even snapping a pic with your phone, it's a nightmare. But the bigger issue is the go-to system. The alignment process is infamous. You need to level the tripod, point it north, enter the time and date, which is a pain on a tiny screen, and then it asks you to center specific stars in the eyepiece. Sounds simple, right? Therefore, you'll try and fail. The sky-align feature often picks stars you can't even see because of light pollution or because they're behind a tree. So you spend 20 minutes, waste your battery, and end up manually pointing the thing anyway. The computer becomes a very expensive, very complicated set of manual slow-motion controls. I've seen grown adults nearly cry trying to get this thing aligned. It's not beginner-friendly. It's beginner-hostage situation. /N. Let's rehook for a second. Are you really willing to spend over $1,000 on a scope that fights you every step of the way? What if I told you there's a better way to spend that money for most people? Keep watching, because the third problem is the clincher. But first, a joke. Why did the NexStar 6SE get a bad review? It couldn't find itself in a mirror. Okay, back to the misery. Therefore, we arrive at problem number 3, the upgrade dead end. The 6SE is a system, but it's a system that doesn't like to play with others. Want to do serious astrophotography? Forget it. The mount isn't stable or accurate enough for long exposures. You'll get star trails. The fork mount design makes balancing heavier cameras awkward. Celestron will sell you a wedge to turn it into an equatorial mount. But that's another few $100 on a shaky foundation. You quickly realize you've bought into a platform with a very low ceiling. It's like buying a sports car that can't go over 50 mph. The optics are great, but they're trapped in a bad body. /n/n, let's do a deep dive on what you actually see through this thing, because that's the only reason to even consider it. The 6-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain optical tube is a marvel of engineering. It folds a long focal length into a compact tube. The views of the moon are breathtakingly sharp. You can see the rings of Saturn clearly, and Jupiter's cloud bands are visible. On a dark night, you can find brighter deep sky objects like the Orion Nebula or the Andromeda Galaxy. The optics deliver. Therefore, if your dream is purely visual observing and you have the patience of a saint to deal with the mount and power, you will see cool stuff. But here's the twist. You can get those same optics, or better, for less money and far less hassle. A simple 6-inch Dobsonian telescope gives you the same light grasp for half the price. No batteries, no alignment, just point and look. You'll spend more time observing and less time troubleshooting. The computerized go-to is a luxury, but is it worth $600 of extra frustration? For most beginners, the answer is no. /n Who is the 6SE actually for then? It's for a very specific person. Someone who values portability above all else, who has a dedicated power solution, who has already mastered manual telescopes and now wants the convenience of go-to, and who understands its photographic limitations. That's a niche within a niche. Are you that person? If you're a complete beginner dreaming of the cosmos, this scope will likely overwhelm you. Therefore, my contrarian snapback is this. The Celestron NexStar 6SE isn't a beginner telescope. It's an intermediate telescope with a steep learning curve disguised in beginner marketing. It's the hobby killer for many. /n/n Let's talk alternatives before you get too depressed. If you want ease and value, get an 6-inch or 8-inch Dobsonian. Massive light, rock-solid simple mount, tons of wow factor for the money. If you must have go-to and are tech-savvy, look at the newer Celestron Evolution series with built-in lithium batteries and Wi-Fi. It costs more, but it solves many of the SE's flaws. If portability is key and you want to try astrophotography, consider a small refractor on a sturdy German equatorial mount. The 6SE tries to be a jack of all trades and, in my experience, ends up master of none. But what about the cool factor? It does look like a piece of sci-fi tech. Therefore, if your primary goal is to impress your neighbors and you don't mind a high-maintenance relationship, go for it. Just buy a case of AA batteries. What did the battery say to the NexStar? I'm dying for you. Last joke, I promise. /n Let's bring it all home. The resolution here is simple. The Celestron NexStar 6SE has legendary optics hampered by a problematic, outdated design. The power system is a joke. The mount is frustratingly shaky and finicky to align, and its upgrade path is a brick wall. For over $1,000, you deserve better. You deserve a telescope that gets out of the way and lets you explore the universe, not fight with electronics. Therefore, my final advice is this. Stop. Don't buy the Celestron NexStar 6SE as your first telescope. Do your research, consider the alternatives I mentioned, and save yourself a lot of money and headache. If after all this, you still have your heart set on the 6SE and want to brave its challenges, I've linked to the best current price on Amazon in the description below. But click that link knowing exactly what you're getting into. Thanks for watching.